Okay, we're going.
Here?
Okay, here we're going.
Here we're going.
Okay, this is good. So speaking of going, let's formally. So I was rambling yesterday. So we're gonna try to clean some of that up. I think in this one. One of the things that is a clean way to offer formal sessions, to dedicate them. So here we're dedicating this to the ones gone thus.
Tathagatas.
Yes. And what does it mean to go thus? It's like the idea, we were joking, so it's like an adventure. So you're going to the thus is like an advent. It's like to the coming of a thing. So you were going just to continue a little bit, and then we'll get into the specifics of rebirth and addiction, what we're going to talk about in this one. When you go to the coming, or the ones who have gone thus, it's like similar to the moment of creation. It's like it's a happening. You know, it's like it's a party and everybody's invited. That's the idea. So to the coming, or the going, those who are going to the going,
Or the becoming.
it's a verb. It's an in process thing. So no language can actually pin it down.
I see.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's an active inevitability of a creative something, but you can't actually say a word. It's like life is in motion. So trying to say something about what's in motion is irrelevant. You can't actually pin it down or locate it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the language is used. The advent of a Messiah, or the thus gone ones. They've gone to the going. They went to the party, right? But the party is right now. The party is right now. It's a happening. It's a happening. And we're all invited, is the idea.
Nice.
So we're dedicating this to those who are partying, okay? Who know that it's a party, all right? Okay.
Thank you to those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We have a name for today's session.
Yes.
It's called Buddha's Addiction.
Buddha's addiction. Oh, the controversy continues. Okay.
So topic number 1, suffering is caused by addiction.
Yeah.
Would you like to expound this statement
Well,
first?
we're hip to that. There's a concept called kleshas,
Yeah.
which we're starting to understand is probably more aptly translated as addiction rather than affliction. Addiction. So suffering is caused by our addictions, yes. We're addicts
To something.
to something.
Not all the same thing, but something.
Yes. I think we want to continue with the...
Yep.
Okay.
So we're addicted to the expression of certain energy centers. And you've probably explained this in your previous videos, but maybe you want to speak on what these energy centers are.
called chakras.
Yeah.
But when we understand what they are, they're wheels of motives. I'm hungry, now I'm satiated. Now I'm hungry, now I'm satiated. Now I'm hungry. That's an energy center. That's called survival center. I'm breathing air. It's very hard to not want to breathe air. So there is a relationship between the energy centers, cyclical expression, desire, satiation, all that stuff is related. We'll get to that. For now, I think it's okay. Yeah.
So the reason we're bringing this up is because it happens that people get stuck in a particular center sometimes. And they only feel safe when expressing that particular type of activity.
Definitely.
Do you want to speak more on that? Or?
Well, just maybe finish the thought and then let's see what's left over.
Okay, so you have here, like addicts, the voices in our heads argue on our behalf and justify our behavior to us.
Yes. So we're addicted. Suffering comes from addictions. We're addicted to the expression of certain energy centers. Addicts continue the behavior because of the voices in the head justifying that it's okay. Without thinking, look, I'm addicted to the thing. It's not like I have a choice. There's no choice. In addiction, there's no choice.
There's no freedom then.
Right. So that thing just continues. So I'm trying to bridge the gap of continuity of lives, rebirth, leaving it out there like, well, it'll all be okay at some point later. It's like, that's not, we got to all mature. We got to all woman and man up here and swallow the tough pill. It's not going to, problems don't fix themselves.
Right. And like you were saying in one of the previous videos that you posted yesterday, the thing that continues from life to life, let's say, are exactly those things, the tendencies.
Yes.
So if you don't change it now, it's not inevitably going to change.
Yes.
It's just going to happen forever.
Correct.
Until you change it.
Yeah. You got to change it now or it's going to keep happening. I'm addicted to the expression of a certain energy center. I'm addicted to the expression of survival mode. Got to get this money, got to be disciplined, got to have everything in order and be, whatever. Be the good person, whatever that means. I haven't even investigated what is what or whatever. Just, get that, get money and go along. I'm addicted to the sensuality, pleasure, sexuality. I'm addicted to that. That will just continue. Survival mode continue. I'm addicted to manifesting. Let's manifest more. That will just continue. I'm addicted to play and leisure and whatever. That will just continue. None of them is particularly right or wrong or anything. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that what happens in addiction mode, which is also suffering mode, is that I only feel safe when I'm expressing that dominant center or that dominant activity. I only feel safe there. And then I start to create a narrative in my mind that that's what my identity is. And then that reinforces the addiction and just multiplies, amplifies. Deepens the rut. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So then that obviously continues. It just becomes the default behavior.
Right.
And the more it becomes a default behavior, the more I feel safe doing it. The more I feel safe doing it, the more it becomes a default. The more it becomes default, the more I feel safe doing it. And then I create a story as if that's the real me. This expression of sensuality is the real me. Me being an artist, rock and roll mode, is the real me. Me being the manifester, that's the real me. And then whenever I'm not experiencing the real me, that is the story that I've made up, then I'm suffering. It's like, I feel like I deserve to be a thing, or whatever that means. I deserve this because I'm this. And it's all a narrative that justifies our addicted behavior. Okay.
So if we're all on the same page that, we're starting to understand that it causes an individual suffering when they identify in a limited way with like a particular identity rather than something that is more complete or inclusive or whatnot, then the question for that person, probably what comes to mind is like, okay, well, how do I not do that?
Yeah.
What does it take for me to cancel that momentum of all those habits and the addiction and the rut, and how do I stop doing that?
Yeah. I think there's something there, right?
There is something here. I just wanted to give you the option to.
All right. I wrote it so that I wouldn't forget it.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes it's nice to have the argument happen in a specific way.
Well, you say here, like addicts, the addiction continues unless a conscious near-death experience shakes us up a bit.
Yeah.
You said, I say conscious because most addicts fall asleep a lot.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, literally, whatever.
Yeah.
And most people fall asleep into death and miss the clear light inclusivity and the opportunity to actively shape the rebirth process.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot there to unpack.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Okay. The only thing that stops addiction is when you hit bottom, right? Then you are like faced with the thing. And hitting bottom essentially represents, for real hardcore addicts, it's death, essentially. You have to confront that. You have to confront death. If I continue doing this, I'm going to die. I'm calling it a near-death experience because there's no such thing as death. Actually, the Egyptians have in ancient Egypt, there's no word for death.
Right.
They call it westing. It's not a stopping process. There's a continuity. Okay, so so it's one thing to have a near-death experience. It's another thing to consciously have a near-death experience. if you understand the difference. What I mean by addicts fall asleep, you ever seen heroin addicts? They out, bro. And who knows what's happening around them. The Messiah could have descended in spaceships. The savior race, the savior ancient alien race that built, I'm joking, but they could be landing on the planet. The whole thing could be, oh my, and they just catch us sleeping. And that's the moment of death, I'm saying. What we call the moment of death is the realization that each one of us is the savior of the universe, actually. That's the clear light. That's the moment to hit that thing. And actually what meditation practice is for, I'm blanketing, it's a huge blanket statement, so forgive me for, lumping everything together. But what meditation practice is for a moment of death, so that you could get the fact that you are the savior, you're the one.
And so are you, and so are you.
Yeah,
and so
right,
are
exactly.
you.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. But if you don't practice, you
can't.
But then
if you don't practice, then you miss the near-death experience that wakes you up out of the addiction.
Got it.
The only way to end the addiction is to have a conscious near-death experience. Then you're like, if I continue doing this, I'm just going to either sleep through eternity or miss the opportunity to play or hurt myself, hurt others. I'm going to keep doing this. So the wake-up call has to come in some way. But you got to be awake to answer the phone. Mm-hmm. You got to wake up to hear the phone's ringing to pick it up in the first place.
Wake up, Neo.
Yes. Okay?
Okay.
So now we get into the fun stuff. So we have a concept that Buddhas in some way have transcended addiction, which is not correct. Actually, life is addicted to itself. This is fun. Life is addicted to itself. It can't let go of itself. It loves itself so much it just stays connected to itself. It wants to hug and it wants to make love to itself. It's just making love to itself forever. It can't let go of itself. That's the strong force of the universe. So life is addicted to itself. It loves itself so much it just stays stuck together forever.
So we could let go of the idea that addiction is not potentially constructive.
Yeah, in a way, yes. Yes.
Just reframe it.
Yeah. So Buddhas understand that. Buddhas wake up so that they can answer the phone. And then they realize that life is addicted to itself and it's in love with itself and it's loving itself. It's making love to itself forever. They wake up to that. And then they develop an addiction which mirrors reality as much as is possible. So Buddhas mirror reality as much as is possible. It's impossible to mirror reality because it's a happening, okay? You can't pin it down. But they mirror that activity as much as is possible. So they consciously develop an addiction of their own, which is the addiction of expressing love and compassion for all beings forever. Now, it just so happens that if you develop the Buddha's addiction, that your life becomes exponentially and infinitely meaningful because it's a happening that never stops. Okay? So then your meaning never stops either is the idea. So far, so good? Still good on time?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're at 14 minutes.
Okay, so maybe we wrap there for today, and
okay.
We get into so what is the path to the Buddha's to developing the Buddha's addiction of love and compassion for all beings forever, which mirrors reality the most possible, as much as is possible. All right. What is the path? The path is always training in two things: training in wisdom. Wisdom is realization of emptiness, which means realization of interdependence, which means realization of self-other inclusivity, which means realization of creative responsibility. That every individual is the one, and therefore every individual has the responsibility to save the universe, okay? Or could potentially experience how magical that could be. Compassion is teaching people about wisdom.